If you are a fan of super realistic FPS games, this is going to be the video for you. Drop a like and we're just going to get right into it. We're going over the most realistic FPS games of all time. My personal list, of course, and we're going to start things off with Insurgency Sandstorm. Now, games can be extremely realistic, either because of the visuals or because of the actual game mechanics, and the level of immersion is kind of up to those. And this one clicks on all cylinders. This is a tactical FPS launched on PC in late 2018. It's reportedly going to be making its way to PS4 and Xbox One in spring of next year. You work with other players to complete objectives, and then you face off against other teams as well. Now, visually, this game is super impressive, and it's made all the more realistic by the lack of common HUD elements, which really immerses you into this world and forces you to pay close attention to everything going on. Think hardcore mode on another level. The game doesn't hold your hand, and that can be a bit of a turnoff for some new players, but once you get past that and the learning curve, it becomes one of the most immersive elements of this game. Counting your shots, really listening to the environment, this game is a super unique experience, and I think it's a good way to start today's list. Next up, we have Rising Storm 2 Vietnam. Developed by Antimatter Games and Tripwire Interactive, Rising Storm 2 was released on the PC in May of 2017. It is also a tactical multiplayer FPS set during, you guessed it, the Vietnam War. Like many other games on this list, it focuses on a large-scale warfare with high server counts, and the emphasis is on communication with your teammates. All the maps are also based on real-world locations where fighting took place in the Vietnam War, which is really cool. It gives it an additional layer of authenticity. The game has gotten a few DLC packs over the years, and it's been received rather well. It boasts an 82% approval rating on Steam right now after almost 19,000 reviews. It's definitely not as popular as the developers would probably hope for, but there's still more than enough players logging on every day so you can go find a lobby. Give this one a try. This next one you may not have heard of. It's an indie game, War of Rights. It was developed and published by Campfire Games. Released in December of 2018, War of Rights puts you in the shoes of a soldier in the American Civil War. The game was designed to be as realistic and historically accurate as it could, so don't go into this game expecting a ton of fast-paced arcade action like Battlefield or Call of Duty, because it's not going to happen. It is a much slower but straightforward experience, as you have to deal with the weaponry of the time like muskets and cannons, and servers can support up to 150 players all fighting it out on 30 different maps, all of which were carefully designed to mimic real battle locations from the war. After 1,500 reviews, the game has a 75% approval rating on Steam, and it's currently on sale, so if you're going to try it, now's the time. It's super different from most multiplayer shooters, but you never know. It may be something that you really, really like. Now, this one was expected to be on the list. Rainbow Six Siege. It's not the most realistic game ever, but it does have a lot of elements that hit the mark to get it on the video today. For starters, this game is visually very impressive when played on higher settings on PC. Most competitive players will play on reduced settings in order to get higher frames, but if you are in it for the immersion, Siege has the potential to be one of the best looking shooters on the market today. And secondly, Siege is a game with very little room for error. It forces you to be very smart with your decisions and your movements, as taking one step can alert enemy players to your location, just like in a real combat scenario. Now, the sound design is very good in this game, and the technology is all appropriate with the world you're playing in. So while Siege may not be the most insanely realistic game out there, it's certainly leagues more realistic than other popular FPS games, and I think it deserves to be on the list. At number 6, we have a game called The Hunter Call of the Wild. Now, I know not everybody is into hunting games like this, but we are talking about the most realistic FPS games ever made, and it's hard not to put this game on that list. It, of course, is a hunting simulator. Released in 2017, has been updated throughout the years to help keep it fresh. The game is meant to be a true simulation of hunting. You're in a massive 100 square mile map where you have to use the environment to your advantage, and you really have to learn the behaviors of animals that you're tracking. Now, visually, the game is gorgeous, especially on PC, and I know a lot of people may be turned off to this game since it's about hunting, but if you want some good eye candy, this is it. Could you imagine if they did a DLC for this game that made it about hunting dinosaurs or something? How awesome would that be? These amazing visuals, but your guard hunting down dinosaurs. That's right, escape dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. This next one is called simply Squad. It's a tactical multiplayer FPS developed and published by Off-World Industries, and you're going to see quite a few indie games on this list today. Released in early access in 2015, it is a spiritual successor to the Project Reality mod for Battlefield 2, which attempted to keep the game's core intact while adjusting certain elements to make it more realistic. So, as you'd expect, Squad features large wide open maps with limited HUD information, meaning there is an increased emphasis on your communication with your teammates in order to fight off other teams and complete the objectives. Now, the largest map in the game is a whopping 16 square kilometers, and there are also a good amount of vehicles for you to jump into. After almost 4 years on the market, it is still holding a very healthy player base on Steam, and it's actually been seeing a sharp increase in player counts recently. It boasts an average peak player count of over 7,000 people, so finding games is not an issue. Give it a shot if you like Battlefield, but you want something way more realistic and less frantic. Like I said, more indie games. At number 4, VERDUN, or VERDUN. VERDUN, we'll go with that. It was developed and published by M2H and Black Mill Games for the PC in 2015. Then it was moved over to the PS4 and Xbox the following 2 years. As the title implies, VERDUN is an FPS set during World War I, and it's mainly inspired by the Battle of Verdun in 1916. Now, the game aims to be as realistic as possible with incredible attention to detail and historical accuracy. All the weapons are real models that were used in the First World War. All the uniforms were on the battlefield at one point, and the environments and the character animations are super well done. Now, there's a handful of game modes to play, and servers support up to 64 people in each match, which can give you some pretty big engagements, and player counts aren't as high as they used to be, but there's still some people on if you want to play, and it's got over 22,000 reviews on Steam with a 85% approval rating. Plus, it's currently on sale at this very moment for $7. At number 3, we have Escape from Tarkov. Now, this is a very unique game that has been in quite a few people's attention from streamers over the last year or so. Developed and published by Battlestate Games. The game entered closed alpha in late 2016 and is currently in paid beta for anybody to get on. The concept is a little complicated here, so I'm gonna explain it. The main gameplay mode is survival. You drop into an open world map, you hunt the gear, you go to your extraction point, at which point you leave the map and you bring all the gear with you. Then, the next time you drop in the map, you can take whatever gear you want with you, so you will be better equipped to fight and loot other players. But if you die while you're playing survival, you lose everything you had equipped at that time. So the game is a constant dance between what you want to bring with you to make you better for fighting and what you want to keep at home in case you die and need some backup equipment. The game is also extremely impressive visually, and keep in mind, this was all done by an indie team with limited funding. Escape from Tarkov is currently available for paid early access on the PC. Now, I know we're staying away from arcade shooters, but I have to. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Yeah, the new one. Now, people have mixed feelings about this game, and I don't blame you right now, but there's one aspect of the game that everybody can agree upon. It looks and sounds incredible. It may be one of the most immersive and realistic games so far. Visually, it's stunning, and there are many sequences in the campaign that look photo-realistic, like you're there. The sequence when you search through a house room by room, floor by floor, is one of the most immersive things I've ever experienced in a video game. It was done in a house with 1-to-1 ratios with a real SEAL team. Now, when you go over to multiplayer, the realism aspect breaks down, but the Modern Warfare campaign is one of the most realistic AAA games ever made, and I think the technical achievements of the game are really going to raise the bar for other companies. So, what did you think specifically about the MW campaign? And at number 1 today, Arma 3, launching all the way back in 2013 on the PC, it's still one of the more popular games on Steam. It is a massive game, which is extremely impressive when you consider it's actually an indie title. Developed and published by Bohemia Interactive, it's an open-world tactical shooter that borders on being a military simulator, as you are given extensive control over your character's movement. You get positioning, behavior, combat decisions, the entire package. Now, there's a couple different maps in Arma 3, all of which are photorealistic and huge, with the smallest one stretching to 7.7 square miles, and the bigger one hitting a whopping 100 square miles. In the campaign, you can traverse the islands and complete objectives, whereas in multiplayer, it's more about survival and the occasional encounters with other players. Arma 3 is one of the most immersive shooters ever made, both from a technical standpoint and a gameplay standpoint. I don't think there's any other FPS title that can stand up to it right now. And there you have it, my friends. You let me know one game that is super realistic that's in the first-person shooter category that didn't make the list, and drop it in the comment section. I hope you guys enjoyed. There's another video up on the screen right now. Go check that one out, and I'll see you soon.